When people think about this kind of abilities, they always go to clairvoyance. However, my favorite one of all of them is claircognizance or clear thinking. When there's some tidbit of knowledge that you know for sure without knowing how you know, it is called claircognizance or clear knowing. Maybe this has happened to you. You're arguing with a person about a topic that you're only vaguely familiar with, but something deep inside of you tells you a fact or two, and you cling to this knowledge without having any evidence to support it. And your companion asks you, "But how do you know?" And you have no retort other than, "I just know, that's all." You've probably been called a know-it-all a few times in your life, and this proclamation has a grain of truth to it. You do know a lot, but you're totally puzzled about how you came to know all this information and to own all this information. Many great inventors, scientists, authors, futurists, and leaders have used their gift or claircognizance to tap into this collective unconscious and access new ideas and inspiration. Edison, for instance, said that all progress, all success springs from thinking. It is said that Edison and other great inventors meditated until they received a brainstorm of inspiration and ideas. The difference between someone who simply receives such information and a person who also benefits from it is the ability to assess what's happening as being useful and special. So many claircognizants write it off, the incoming transmissions, as information that's glaringly obvious to others. Everyone knows this, the claircognizants say, or will say to themselves. Then a couple years later, they find that the brilliant idea they conceived has been carried out and marketed by other person. So the challenge for those who receive their divine guidance as a thought, idea, or revelation is to assess that this is a unique piece of information that really could be the answer to their prayer. I believe and found that claircognizance benefits from spending time away from the computer and office by getting a healthy dose of nature and fresh air. Many thinking-oriented people lead work-centered lives, creating a need for balance in the areas of physical fitness, playfulness, family matters, spirituality, and relationships. Even focusing a little extra time on these themes can help a claircognizant feel more clear in following ideas that are born in the infinite mind. Let's talk about judgment versus discernment. What is the difference? Those who favor a thinking style with regard to angelic communication may have higher intelligence quotients or IQs than most. After all, they're usually avid readers with a wide range of interests that will land them higher than the average IQ scores. A key ingredient in tapping into this intellectual awareness is being able to differentiate between when you're using discernment versus when you're relying on judgment. There are key differences between these two intellectual behaviors that can determine spiritual outcomes. So let's start with an example. For example, involving cigarette smoking, you're probably aware of the many studies linking this habit to various diseases and health risks. Discernment will say, "I'm not attracted to smoking or smokers. I don't care for the smell of cigarettes or their effects." But judgment will say, "Smoking is bad. Smokers are bad." Notice the difference? One operates under the law of attraction, which simply asks you to honor to your personal preferences without labeling or condemnation. In a similar vein, when you're unsure whether or not an idea is divinely guided, you need to pay attention to your internal mechanisms of discernment. You may need to seek out a specialist in areas that are outside of your expertise. In this case, you can mentally ask God and your angels to lead you to these individuals, and you will delight in seeing how quickly they appear. All right, let's talk about how are some common ways in which claircognizance occurs. So you probably have met a person and suddenly you knew details about him or her without having had previous knowledge of the individual. Also, you possess information about something related to current events without having read or heard about it. Or you have a premonition on how something, for example, a business venture, a recreational trip, or a relationship was going to turn out, and you were right. You also could be cognizant if you have an idea for a business, a book, or an invention that haunted you. You executed the idea and found out that it worked. Or you ignore it and discover that someone else with the same idea ran with it and made a fortune. Also, you could have claircognizance if you lost your checkbook or your keys or your wallet, and when you asked your angels where the item was, you received a sudden knowingness that led you right to it. True divine claircognizance is repetitive and positive. It speaks on ways in which you can improve your own life and the lives of others. It's service-oriented, and while a certain idea may make you rich and famous, that's a side benefit and not the motivation behind the concept. In fact, it's usually these types of altruistic ideas that lead to benefits for their inventors. Those who pursue self-serving ventures, aka money, often repel potential clients and customers who sense the hollow values behind an idea. True claircognizance helps you do something that will truly help others in such a way that it will inspire people to seek you out as customers, clients, sponsors, audience members, publishers, and so forth. This force comes from the Creator, who knows of your true talents, passions, and interests, and how these characteristics can be used to help others. In biblical times, money was referred to as talents, and you have talents that you can exchange for money. True, true claircognizance doesn't just wave a dream under our noses and then kind of taunt us to discover how to manifest it. No, no, no. It gives us complete step-by-step instructions. The trick, though, is to remember that God only teaches us one step at a time. We receive this information in the form of repetitive thoughts or feelings, visions or words, depending upon our spiritual orientation. That tells us to do something. The something usually seems insignificant. For example, call this person, write this letter, attend this meeting, read this book. If we follow the directions and complete, then we'll have, in this repetitive manner, we're given the next set of instructions. So step by step, God guides us all the way to the realization of our intended manifestations. We always have free will, so definitely we can ignore the guidance anytime we choose. However, most people find that if they don't complete one of the divinely guided steps, they feel stuck as if they're spinning their heels or in the mud. I always ask people who tell me that they are blocked, what piece of divine guidance have you been receiving repeatedly but you are ignoring? Always I find that this insight, which they are avoiding because of some fear of making a life change, is the key ingredient they've been searching for. Angels give you ideas in response to your prayers for guidance. You receive this divine transformation at moments where your mind is receptive, such as during dream time, meditation, exercise, or even while watching a television program or movie. That's because your mind tends to go on cruise control during these times. You feel excited and energized, by guided insights, and it's important not to counteract them with pessimistic thoughts. The idea rings true, and you know it deep in your soul. Certainly, any idea can fail, but if we can also succeed, and trying it gives us our life meaning at the end of the day. If you have had negative experiences with respect to following hunches in the past, you could feel gun shy now. You might have decided to play it safe and secure, but avoiding major life changes. That's fine, as long as you're happy with your current circumstances. But if there's an area of your life that is off balance, it is natural for you, as well as God and the angels, to want to heal the situation. This is called homeostasis, which is the instinctive drive to attain balance that's common to all living beings. Now, more than those with the other divine guidance styles, claircognizants tend to waver when it comes to faith. When you are a thinker, it's easy to think yourself into a box of skepticism. Faith seems illogical and rests upon so many intangible factors. Yet a good scientist always experiments before drawing a conclusion. Whether your hypothesis is geared in favor of believing in angels or not, or if you take the time to put the theory to a test, that's what's important. God and the angels hear your thoughts, so you can call upon heaven without eliciting raised eyebrows from your colleagues. Mentally ask your angels to help you with some area of your personal or professional life. Then notice what help comes to you after you make your request. It could be something that's instant, so you might have a strong impulse or idea, or it might come in a more tangible fashion, where a person will just happen to hand you a journal article with the information you seek. The two key ingredients in this experiment are: one, asking for guidance, and this is because the law of free will prevents heaven from helping without our giving permission, and two, we're noticing the help that's being received. Being aware of this type of assistance is different from holding a forced scavenger hunt when you're searching for clues. False guidance is always a product of struggle and worry. True divine inspiration comes easily on natural winds of love. The more that you can learn to trust and follow such information, the more you'll benefit from your internal guidance system. For example, you might get an idea about opening a new business. The idea is foolproof, and you wonder why you never thought of it before. You venture forward, and all the doors open for you: financing, location, partnerships, and more. The business is a rapid success, and you know that you're guided by true divine wisdom. Now let's talk about how to increase your claircognizance. Since claircognizance can come about very slowly as a thought or an idea, it's easy to miss this high-level method by which heaven communicates with us. You might dismiss your divinely inspired idea without recognizing it as an answer to your prayers. You could mistake it for an idle thought or a daydream instead of embracing heaven's inspiration. Claircognizants also ignore their divine guidance because they believe that what they know is obvious to others. Everybody knows that, claircognizants will decide, and so sometimes they won't capitalize on the brilliant idea they just received. It doesn't help that many have been teased for being know-it-alls, so they hesitate to speak up for fear of being ridiculed. Yet this label has a kernel of truth to it, for claircognizants are very tapped into the collective unconscious. It is important to really pay attention to what enters your mind. That includes the repetitive thoughts and also the noble ideas. Divine guidance comes both as a suggestion, the hammer away at you repeatedly, and also as a libel type inspiration. So one of the best ways to pay attention to this form of guidance is to keep a daily journal where you have a conversation with yourself about your thoughts or ideas. I know that I have two journals that I carry with me at all times, day or night, as some of these ideas also might come during the dream state. The journal format could be like an interview with your higher self or a question and answer format. And so that way you can get more information from the unconscious to your awareness. When you get a response, don't second guess yourself. Instead, give your thoughts and ideas a moment to speak up and ask them, what do you want to tell me? It could be an insight such as, well, this is a new person I just been introduced to. It doesn't seem very honorable, for example. Or it could be also an inspired idea that helps you know the truth about a spiritual principle or brainstorming a new business. By keeping a journal, you can access the patterns and accuracy of your thoughts and ideas. You will gain awareness about which ones are truly divinely inspired. For example, you probably have experience of ignoring your thoughts and saying later, I knew that was going to happen, or I knew I shouldn't have gone there. Your successes and mistakes teach you both to trust and follow your insights. I also find that many people who are thinking oriented, such as myself, are opposed to feeling, sight, or hearing oriented, tend to be workaholics. They often hole up in their offices, strapped to the chairs in front of the computers. All this work is fine as long as it's balanced with time spent outdoors. This is foreign to their comfort zones. Once outside, claircognizants find that the fresh air, plants, and trees help sharpen their psychic senses. They become even more open to and aware of the divine inspiration. Also, the peace of the outdoors makes it easier to hear our thoughts and take note of clever ideas. As we clear room in our schedule for personal timeouts, we take a break from the world of clocks and telephones. We become more tuned into the inner rhythm of our bodies and nature. Among other benefits, spending regular time outdoors helps us develop good timing, which generally means that we notice and follow the rhythm of life. When we return to the office, we develop more acute instincts with respect to the best moment to make the phone call, send that email, or speak up at that meeting. Our time outdoors may also inspire us to break away from the office completely and forge a career that matches our heart's desires more fully. How to trust claircognizance. Some people are really skeptical about following their intuition because they've done so in the past and have been burned as a result. Perhaps you have a great idea one time, but when you follow through, everything turns into a mess. So you're reluctant to even trust your ideas again. So normally these situations involve two types of patterns. One, the initial idea was inspired divinely, but then fear took over and took us out of the path. Two, instead of acknowledging our divine guidance, we force something to happen, or we listen to another person's opinion and ignore our inner teacher. So you can see here, we said, don't second guess yourself. Keep a journal of thoughts and visitations. Go outdoors. Watch your inner thoughts and tone. Be consistent. Don't be afraid. Fear is a big one. Don't ignore your inner teacher. And one for me that was very important, don't let others ridicule you. Most of the times, people are just gossiping or talking about you in a manner in which they don't even, you don't feel like they even know you. They perceive you from their point of view. And what happens is when people perceive you from their point of view, they normally perceive you how they want you to be for them. And so when you change or something changes in you, or they see that change, even though you always being the same person, they feel this is as a threat. Not so much that you're threatening them, but they feel as a threat because people like normalcy and they like consistency. And when something is not in the sphere of, this is always how it's been, what they're going to do is they're going to either ridicule you or put you down or gaslight you or trying to keep you from your path or like tell you, are you crazy? Is this normal? You'll hear a lot of different things. Especially it hurts because it normally comes from your family members, that being your mother, your sister, your brother, or it can come from your partner, it can come from your friends that normally are the ones that are there to support you. And you'll notice that they're so afraid of how this is going to be, you're going to be this all different person to them, that it's easier for them to kind of like put a wall against you, and kind of like it is easier to look at you and see something wrong than to look at themselves and see something wrong. So always remember to tune with your natural skills and abilities. So when we initially received an idea, it was based upon a true guidance. This always stems from love, but somewhere along the way we got scared. This fear blocked our receptivity to continue guidance and creative ideas, and took us off our original inspired path, which triggered behavior and decisions that originated from the ego. So when we partner with our egos, unhappiness and errors inevitably follow. For example, years ago, I used to have a soap business. I used to do lotions and herbal soaps and lotions. And I started like gifting these as friends. And soon I had like probably 20, 30 friends that were like, oh, can you give me a little bit of your soap? I really like it. Can you do this flavor? Can you do this smell? And at the beginning, I was just like, taking it as a hobby. I will be giving this to my friends for like birthdays or Christmas, and it was good for me. It was something that it was a creative side of me, and so I enjoy this. And so then I have probably about 100 and some people, and some people started paying me, hey, can you do a bar of this, or can you do 12 of that, and so I started going to herbal markets and the flea markets, and then like doctors' offices selling the soaps, and people will buy it, to the point that I actually started to create about $30,000 or $40,000 worth. I was making about, I'll say, close to 800 pounds of soap a week, you know, and it was all done by hand, which is amazing. But I was like working 16-hour days, and I love it. I love it. It was the colors, the different smells, and it was something, I was always something new, and I'll be thinking of somebody who made that soap for them. And, it was a very spiritual experience, very creative experience. But then I had a partner that tried to get with me, and she was really good at marketing. She was good at marketing. She was good at, getting clients and leads. And so then it started turning into a business. So now it's turning into a business. And at the beginning, I'm like, okay, that's great. People like it. You get paid for your craft, you know. But soon, all of a sudden, I start seeing my business, your business, I guess, idea kind of like turn into someone else's idea. So it was no longer my mission. My mission was to bring comfort to women everywhere that were experiencing, all these horrible situations, by just smelling the oils, the essential oils, and kind of like make something for them as a gift. And so then it started turning this creative endeavor into something that was work related, making money. And now it's like, okay, it's not enough that we do 800 pounds of soap, but now we're going to do 1,600 pounds of soap. And, and it was all done by hand. So now it was, it was still something creative, but I was not like so enjoyable anymore, because now I have to come up with ideas that before were divinely inspired. So now it's like a production line, right? Even though the soaps were still artistic and still creative and they were all different, but it still looked more like a, we were producing, mass producing now. And so then I started listening to this pattern, and obviously she was just trying to help me out, to go out there and make more money, and turning this into a business so I could have a store, and you know, and then I realized, and then I just couldn't do it anymore, and she was like, why are you quitting now? Working, well, it was no longer my idea. It was no longer my mission. So instead of acknowledging all this creative endeavor and guidance, all of a sudden I was trying to make something that was natural and organic. I was trying to make it happen. I was trying to force it to happen in this business. And so when we listen to other people and we ignore our inner teacher, we know what we want with our business. It's always good, obviously, to get different people in business and listen to their natural skills and abilities. That's going to help you. But if you're forming a business, it is good that you have your mission clear. It has to be a mission that is, um, devoid of ego, right? So I had to quit. I couldn't do it any longer because I felt like I was in an assembly line. And then I was just stressed out. It was no longer a creative process for me. Every day I was like, oh, we don't have enough leads to pay the bills this month because we had a store. We don't have, I was not enjoying it anymore. And I even noticed on the soaps, the soaps that were beautiful and the smell, there was not as much detail, it was more homogeneous. They start becoming more what you will get if you go to a hotel in which everybody's soap in every room is the same. So if you betray your intuition and do something that's against your better judgment, simply because, a strong-willed person talks you into it, then you might get a gut feeling knowing that this is wrong. You're definitely going to get some flags and gut feelings that something is wrong. Because when you're doing something that is divinely, unique or divinely created, and is one of your natural skills and abilities, you're going to know in your bones. Your gut is going to tell you before your brain does. Um, and so you don't want to fear creep into the picture. Let things happen. Um, you don't want your ego's fears rather than your higher self to control what you're going to do. Okay, I hope that you like that, my story about that. But just to give you some guidance. So it is important to know, don't be afraid to be your own teacher and follow your inner thoughts and tone if they're in tune with your natural skills and abilities. So can we tell true and false claircognizant guidance? Well, true messages are going to be consistent and repetitive. They're going to have a central theme, be positive and empowering. And also, you may get sometimes these through dreams. They're going to give you explicit instructions on what steps to take. Sometimes if you get these through dreaming experiences, you might dream the same dream several times, but with different results. And it's kind of try to give you in every dream, you're getting a different message, and you have to all, put together. So how about a false message? The false messages are going to be random, and they're going to be changing. Normally, false messages, and I found this in life too, even though it might not be related to this particularly, but I find out that every time, and somebody told me this many years ago, and I actually didn't listen to the message or didn't listen to his advice. But it is true, sometimes when you do major life changes just for money, normally they don't work very well. And I'm going to tell you the same thing about this. If you get a message that you can be rich and famous, that might not be a true message. Some messages might come from negative patterns of thinking and be discouraging and abusive, or you might be thinking about worst case scenarios, consist of depressing or distressing thoughts. And so this is bad because some of these ideas especially if you feel like that, depressing, you get depressing, stressing thoughts, and you act on those ideas, they might come slowly in response to worry, and and you might feel like there's like holes in the idea, right? There's an hollow, there's they're ill-conceived, and it might be, this is an important one, it might be really unrelated to anything that you have done before or you have interest in. And I was recently learning and reading a book about Jack Ma. Jack Ma is the founder of Alibaba and this internet company. And I was reading one article the other day in which he was saying that when you are on your 40s, for example, you're going to do what you're good at. So, and a lot of people might try different things, but it comes a moment in which you're going to know what you're good at. You might be good in different things, but there's always one that makes you feel like when you work on that thing, makes you feel like you wouldn't care about working a 16-hour shift because you feel like that's the creative energy that keeps you going through the day, right? Um, Also, another false message that is very important is if you feel some kind of escapism instead of helping others. So escapism is more about, I don't want to deal with you. You might be productive as far as like doing a lot of things. For example, if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to get you might be really busy doing your business, but none of those things that you're doing today, for example, that you did today for your business, none of those is really taking you towards the goal or towards the activity that will make you go forward, So you can be, in other words, you can be really busy doing something, but if it's not something that takes you towards action, it's some kind of action, like either contacting more clients or getting more leads or getting more emails or getting a new website done or, whatever it is that you're trying to do. If you like, for example, just go online and like you're answering emails, for example, the whole day, then how is that helping your business? So if you're an entrepreneur, that one I think is very important. All right. Well, I hope that you're enjoying to talk about, claircognizance. In the next module, we're going to talk about clairaudience or clear hearing. Thank you.